We are on the brink of a lot of people waking up.
Yeah.
And when they wake up, they're going to desire things that actually work. My name is Dr. David Erb. I've been a chiropractor for 27 years in the Dallas area where we have Erb Family Wellness. We have a background in clinical chiropractic neurology. My wife's also a diplomate in neurology. Been part of the U.S. Olympics at times and see several hundred patients a day in several clinics. We have part of Max Living, which has several hundred clinics in 39 states. Lots of experience over the last 27 years with clinical exposure to patients and their health, and mostly focused on wellness.
What year did you do the Olympics?
2012.
So what was like the health industry like at that point?
In 2012,
Yeah.
it was kind of coming around a little bit because we started practice in 98, 99. And then by 2012, there's a lot of changes that happened. And people were really getting more into supplementation. There was not a lot of dietary stuff out there. Like there was no carnivore, there was no paleo. It was all before all that. Like when I was working with Olympians and they were like, there's a reason McDonald's was a sponsor. It's because all of them ate McDonald's all the time. Yes, I'm like,
Are they
I'm like, bro, you can't eat McDonald's and be like a Olympic, literally level athlete. And so as soon as we started changing those things, and they were drinking like sports drinks with electrolytes, but they had sucralose in them and like all these terrible things. I'm like, we gotta change. So the consciousness of that wasn't there. Like now, if you actually work with Olympic athletes, they're looking for any ability that would actually increase their performance, even just the smallest little bit. And chiropractic, most people think chiropractic's for neck pain, back pain, and headaches, but we're the greatest performance doctors ever because it actually one-ups their performance. Literally, it's nuts. And so their consciousness of what they're thinking about to help them, they don't want to drink out of plastic well, not all of them, but some don't drink out of plastic bottles. They don't want to eat, seed oils. They want to stay away from, food additives. They want to increase things that help them with oxygen, resourcefulness, like all these different things, just to get an edge up. And it could be the difference between having an injury or not having an injury because you have that one level of health more than your competitor does.
So, yeah, I can't imagine the level of injury that probably occurred when they were just eating like that. That's crazy.
Joints breaking down, muscles breaking down.
There's so many people walking around like trying to perform at this like peak level, but basically just being constantly bombarded by all of these different choices that are being, or not choices.
I also think too, the level of health of an individual definitely determines what you see as far as the downstream effect. As time has gone on, there's a higher and higher percentage of people who have health effects from exposure to toxic things and EMFs and stuff like this as a result of a ever progressively lowering internal health level or constitutional power that's inside of the human race, if you will. Like we're just unhealthier people now, and unhealthier people are more sensitive to everything.
Yeah, like we used to be able to eat McDonald's because we didn't have all these other environmental or internal factors that were.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that McDonald's or fast food is healthy. In fact, if you just, a lot of this has come out recently with the whole seed oil being a hot topic. Used to, it was that McDonald's used, tallow and salt, basically, in potatoes. Mm-hmm. And now there's like, 27 ingredients and like some kind of anti-foaming thing or whatever. It's like super unhealthy, super toxic. And they still use a similar recipe from the old days over in Europe. So our French fries are completely different. But even as unhealthy as what the current food sources that people get is, a person who's extremely healthy is generally more resilient to things. And it just seems like they don't have symptoms. Not to say that not symptoms is healthy, because we know that, you can have cancer, phase 4, and not even have symptoms yet. But they just don't seem to have the outward effects of, the consequences a lot of people have to all these different things. But the further we go down the line and the less people have health in general, that we see people getting more and more sensitive, which is why, you asked how has the wellness thing changed? It's changed because it's had to. You've had to change because now people are more susceptible. People aren't as healthy as they used to be. And it's taking a lot more work. It's taking a lot more conscious effort per individual and family to find things that actually protect us from this onslaught of so many things, which is definitely higher than it used to be, at the same time combined with health that is generally lower than it used to be too. More people are consciously aware and looking for solutions for wellness, not just trying to invest in reversing their sickness. How do you navigate that? And I don't know that there is a lot of really, let me put it this way, there's a lot of people selling things out there that have zero help and are selling a crappy product to make money on because people will buy it. I mean, you literally can put any shiny thing in a box right now and say this helps your family, and people who are struggling and will want to invest to try anything will buy stuff. And for at least a short amount of time, you'll make some money, and people literally just keep switching the gap on that and switching the box up and making money. However, I think the ability to navigate that starts with the definition of health. Health is not the absence of symptoms. Health is not just, not being old. It's not genetics either, because we can upregulate and downregulate genes. It's not just lifestyle, like just eating and exercising right, because there's people that come up short on that all the time too. I think navigating the wellness industry right now requires, first and foremost, starting with what the definition of wellness actually is. And the definition of wellness is your body functioning at its optimal potential. A body that's functioning great will fight off viruses by itself. And so navigating this new wellness crazy, explosion of this industry of quote wellness products and things has to start first with, what can I associate, what can I bring into my life for me and my family that is going to aid these bodies functioning at their optimal potential? Not just make me feel better, like taking an aspirin for a headache, but what can I now either consume, apply, or live with that's going to actually optimize my body's ability the way it's designed to function at the highest level.
So what do you think those factors are? Like when someone's ready to answer that question of like what health means to them, where do you start? So, because
That's a great question, because I have the exact answer to that. So we teach in Max Living, we teach the 5 essentials, right? So the reason there's 5 is because each one of those is a quintessential, quint being 5. They're all essentials. Everybody knows nutrition is super, super important, so we're not getting toxic things in. Our body actually needs nutrition to heal itself, to function well. We can talk about macronutrients and micronutrients, but then there's also mindset. So that's another essential. I believe hope is just as essential as nutrition is. And hope is a positive expectation for the future, not just fear or dread or whatever. So that's an essential. Nervous system, as a chiropractor, it is a lost thing. 90% of chiropractors just treat pain. 70% don't even take x-rays anymore. It's literally the nervous system functioning well is the center point for your body's ability to function at all. And so that has to be there and completely separated from symptomatology. Like chiropractic, in my opinion, is non-therapeutic. It should be about function and not about symptoms, right? So you should get adjusted whether you feel better, you don't feel better. And so that's one of the essentials. Well, there's also the essential for oxygen and exercise, oxygen and movement. Movement is like a nutrition. Like joints need movement to maintain themselves and actually heal and rebuild themselves. And the movement actually charges the brain like a battery. So the brain needs movement to actually charge itself energetically. Oxygen is needed in every single cell. Warburg won a Nobel Prize saying that lack of oxygen created 96% of all cancers starting. And so we know we need that as an essential. And then toxicity. I mean, that's the one thing we've been talking about. Like toxicity through the pharmaceutical industry or the chemical industry, everything is from microplastics to things that kill germs, germicides, things like this. The deeper that you go, you start finding everything. Like one thing that most of us have not even thought about until the last probably 10 years is the toxic environment that you can't smell, you can't see it. You generally don't feel it unless you're really, really deep into losing your health. But it's the frequencies that are all around us all the time. Electric frequencies, I mean, our phones, the AirPods, and the more technologically advanced that we get, and the easier things get in our life, the more of those frequencies we end up having around us. And the limits, kind of like we were talking about before we start taping today, is the limits set for safety on these things are multitudes above what have been shown to actually be safe, but because they were set so long ago, and that's now the gold standard, that's doctrine now for what safety is. Nobody wants to look at this as an issue for safety anymore, because everybody said, well, that was agreed on. That's the level. Anything below that's safe, when we all know it's not safe. I mean, clinically, I'm going through this clinic every single day. We see hundreds of people a day who are affected by these frequencies. And you can't deny it. When we started almost 30 years ago, we just didn't see any frequency-related illnesses. We just didn't see it. And, I don't want to date myself too much, but, when I graduated, we just got a flip phone. We're like, this thing is so cool, right? And there was no Bluetooth. There was no Bluetooth technology. You didn't have your cell phone in your pocket all the time because it wasn't useful for everything that it's useful now. The only thing you could do with it really is call somebody. And so you left it in your dash, or you left it at home, and it was no big deal. You certainly didn't use it for navigation, with your car. You didn't use it for, watching movies or YouTube stuff or whatever. And so now that thing is on people 24/7. And the 1.6, watts per square meter, whatever they say is safe from a cell phone, is definitely not safe for the majority of people. And if it's not safe for some, it's not safe for all. It's just the ones that don't have symptoms yet. You're saying it's safe because they don't have symptoms.
Whenever we're doing brain scans, and we've done dozens and dozens and dozens at this point, anyone over the age of 45, it's about there. Like elderly who didn't, not elderly, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Who didn't grow up with technology, who didn't get a cell phone until they were in their late 20s or even 30s or whatever. Whenever they do the brain scan with the phone, they don't have as much of a response. And I'm like, that's so fascinating. I would have thought it would be the other way with how everybody communicates about us adapting. I would have thought, okay, kids aren't going to have as, or your young adults aren't going to have as significant of an impact using the cell phone because their body's going to have adapt. And that's not the case. It's because they're not developing. Like we are in utero, we're holding a phone to our tummy, and then like the baby's born, and then by the time they're 3, they're watching on an iPad, and there's never that chance.
Yeah. As a neurologist too, chiropractic neurologist, I kind of thought the same thing, that kids would be way more resilient to it because they're kids. Like, they're generally healthier, and they're just, the people that are quote elderly are going to have more issues with viruses, just like they have more issues with toxicity. But what I've seen personally here is the same thing. My people that are, not kids, and we're not going to say elderly because in the group, but anything that's not kids, seem to be more resilient to this stuff. And, I know children have, their cranium's not as thick, their, whatever, they're just not developed. And, I just think that there is such a gap in our understanding of how this affects the human condition. And inside that black blind spot of we just don't know is a lot of really, really dark things that we don't necessarily want to know about. In fact, when anybody actually scratches the surface of the thing, they can see it. You literally, in research, in scans, in scientifically reproducible, metrics that you can reproduce on its exposure, like EMF exposure to human beings. As soon as you scratch that surface, you can see it as a scientist. You can totally see the damaging effects. The peroxynitrate or whatever. It's a chemical compound produced in your cells after they're exposed to EMFs that actually causes oxidative stress, damage to mitochondria, damage to replication of the cells. It's linked to aging, it's linked to cancer, all these things. And it is produced when you are exposed to EMFs, even at low levels. And because it's at low levels and that chemical is produced at low levels, people go, oh, it's totally safe. I'm like, well, I wouldn't give even a billionth of a particle of rat poison to my kid. And so, like, why would I do something? And inside that gap, inside that blind spot, what ends up happening in the research realm and in the corporate realm is one statement that always comes out every single time is, we just need to do more research. This calls for more research. Well, okay, but who's going to have the balls to stand up and say, we've arrived. We don't need any more research. But nobody wants to take that stance. Nobody wants to put their name on that and say there's no more needed, because they don't want to be the extremist. They want to be the moderate that everybody accepts. Because if you put just needs more research, then nobody's an enemy. No companies need to be called out. Nothing needs to change and nothing needs to stop because we need to do more research. It's just so widely accepted. I mean, it's just widely accepted. Everybody has a phone. Every kid has a phone just about. And so what ends up happening is when it's brought up though, and go, hey, have you ever thought of this affecting your health? Every single, I can't think of a time clinically where I have had a conversation where people go, no, surely not. Everybody goes, well, yeah, no, it probably does. It's probably bad. Like we just inherently know having something that's irradiating in your pocket or near you or on your face or head constantly is bad. We know that. Something inside of us goes, probably long term, this isn't probably good. And so it doesn't take a lot to actually cause people to cause thought. So people go, you got something going on here. And so it doesn't take a lot. The issue that I have is, what does it take for the person to go from, yeah, I think it probably does affect me, but I'm not going to do anything about it, to I really need to make this a priority for my life and my family to actually change something so that I know that we're not going down a road to get surprised later on. Chiropractors are nervous system doctors first, right? We're not joint doctors, although we adjust joints and those things a lot. A chiropractor, by definition, is somebody who affects the neurology of the human frame. That's what we do. We remove interference to neurology. Well, neurology, a nerve, uses conductance, and it's basically a type of electrical conductance. It actually has electrical signature. You can't deny it. It's scientific. I remember when we took physics 2 when I was in college, you could take a wire, put electricity going down it, and you could create an electric field. Well, your brain is a powerful battery. Roger Sperry won a Nobel Prize in 1986. He said the brain is a battery. The body movement actually charges the battery, and then in turn it uses that charge to maintain and function and run the body. And he won a Nobel Prize for that. He said the more posturally distorted you are, the less charge that you actually charge the brain on, and then in turn the less health you have as a result. And he won a Nobel Prize. He wasn't a quack. But again, you start talking about chiropractic and people really have this, what is chiropractic? But this brain connected to this big, huge hardwire of this mass of electrical wires, if you want to look at it like that, goes down the central part of your body. And then from that, you have all these nerves coming off. Well, each one of those nerves has an electrical signature, just like a wire does. But they're all spaced out in your extremities to every little piece of tissue. But internally in that central part, it's a big, huge wire that's now putting off an electrical field, just like that wire did back in physics in college. That electrical field is your own personal energy field. And there's more and more stuff coming out. I mean, we know less about the human body than we actually know. And every year we learn more about the human body than we've known in all prior history. Exactly, we learn more and more all the time. And it's my understanding when I'm seeing patients and we are not just adjusting spines, but we're actually correcting spines. So people have scoliosis, we're reducing those, correcting those oftentimes, putting the arcs back in the spine where they should be. When it's in this arced position and it's straight up and down this way, that electrical signal, that signature, is at its strongest. When you have this electrical field and everything is aligned like it should, then it's the strongest that it can be, right? And so when this spine is aligned and this electrical system is giving off its own field of electricity because of a properly functioning nervous system, it gives off a field that is very, very strong and not as susceptible, in my opinion, again, anecdotally if you want to, but it's not as susceptible to bombardment by other fields because it's strong, right? In physics, you can actually make an electric field, bombard that with other electric fields, bring them closer, and you can just form these and affect these fields because you're actually causing other fields to come in contact with it. Well, how many fields are you in contact with right now? I mean, there's a Wi-Fi router in here. There's lights above you. There's a computer within 6 feet from you. There's devices, there's cameras, there's that light. Like there's literally fields all over the place. The stronger your electric field is, the better you're going to be. The less sensitive that you're going to be. And what I've seen clinically is the sicker that people get, and by more sick, what I mean by that is less ability to get over things. They have symptoms more often, or they're like mold sensitive, multi-chemical sensitive, all these things. They are more and more sensitive to things like electromagnetic frequencies. And as a result of being sensitive to everything, and electromagnetic frequencies. These are the people who, I had one patient come in, and it was the craziest thing. I'd never seen a patient like this. And she said, I am electromagnetic sensitive. And it's like this diagnosis. And at that point in practice, I'd never heard of that. And she goes, I'm coming to your help for your spinal correction because I know that's going to help me in my electrical field. And I was like, well, talk to me a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to call her a weirdo, like I just never heard of this. And she goes, let me prove it to you. And she goes, because she asked me to turn the lights off in the exam room. She goes, go ahead and turn that light on, and I want you to watch the skin on my forehead and my ears. And so I turned it on, and literally, no kidding, there's no way she could do this on purpose. Like, you can't control capillary beds. She started turning beet red the longer I left it on, further and further down. I'm like, oh my God, she truly is really sensitive to that. You could have a cell phone in the same room, and literally her heart rate would start going up, and like you could tell she's under stress. And it wasn't like emotional stress; it was physical stress caused by electromagnetic frequencies. And the reason that she can be affected like that, and and I may not be, is because we have a stronger signature. But let me ask you this: how many exposures to different electrical fields will it take to decrease your body's electrical field and signature till you start having symptoms? A lot of this may be anecdotal. We even talked about that because there's just not a lot of science out there yet proving it. What I love is that you guys are doing EEGs, you're doing a lot of stuff to go, hey, this works, let me show you. And the world needs that. Otherwise, the world's probably not, because the world revolves around a religion of science, even when science is more not science, like a religion. But the world needs to be able to see that, because clinically, I can tell you that I see a difference, but it's anecdotal, right? And so what would it mean? Well, I can tell you this. I believe that those 5 essentials that we talked about, one of them being toxicity. Toxicity, when it pertains to chemicals, is just like EMFs, okay? Go back 50 years ago, the amount of toxic ingredients you were exposed to in a course of one day was not even on the same planet of what it is now. Go back 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the level of electromagnetic fields that you came in contact with was fractional to what it is now. It is everywhere. It's what it is. What I like to look at this as is, it's like being killed by poisoning by 1,000 sources, right? And so, the government says that using bleach is safe, that using hand sanitizer is safe, that using, a laundry detergent or a dryer sheet is safe. But what about all those things together? If there's 1,000 things and the average person gets 126 different exposures before they even leave the house in the morning, how many does it take to where it's not safe? And there's no studies done on that. And guess what else there's no studies on? How many electromagnetic fields that you can come in contact with at one time or through the course of a day that's healthy. And so what I believe for toxicity and what we teach is that it's not about one thing being safe or 11 things being safe. It's the fact that we're being poisoned by 1,000 different things at the course of even one day, and then the course of a week, month, years, that we're losing. So what does it mean? What does it look like? Well, I believe as we start to awaken to the fact that chemicals are bad in general, we start getting rid of a lot of things in our environment. We change our deodorants and soaps and shampoos and personal care products and makeups and all the rest. We should do the very same thing with our environments when it comes to electromagnetic frequencies. And we cannot, at this point in time, I believe, put the genie back in the bottle. There's going to be EMFs now because everybody's going to use Bluetooth. Try to get anybody between 11 and 25 not to use AirPods. Not going to happen. They're just going to use them. Try to actually talk an entire generation of people not to have phones anymore. It's not going to happen. Or TVs, or all these things. It's with us now. It's never going back. But I think if we have environments where, like, you go to the airport is an EMF safe zone. You've got coffee shops that are EMF safe zones. You got clinics that are EMF safe zones. All of a sudden, you actually have more and more places that are safe zones that it's like having a safe deodorant. People want safe deodorant now. Well, guess what else they want? They want things that are safe for their families that involve less and less toxicity, so you're not being poisoned by 1,000 things.
So would that be kind of, so you're considering EMF in when you're talking about like the five, is it five?
5 essentials?
5 essentials. You would put EMF in like toxicity.
100%. It is toxicity. It's just EMF is toxicity. It's just toxicity different than most people think.
Right.
People think toxicity and they think what I put on my skin, like lotion, water, what I eat, what I breathe, like the air, like that is toxicity. But the reason that this is not talked about much is because my brain thinks toxicity, oh, if I'm not eating it, breathing it, rubbing it on, drinking it, then I'm okay. And you can make decisions on that. We were talking about before we started, you can make decisions on what water bottles you drink from, you can make decisions on what lotions or deodorants you use, but you can't make decisions like how much EMF and radiation from, boosters from Wi-Fi that you're going to get exposed to today, right? That's not something you get to make a decision on. And so if we can't make a decision on that, if I can't choose what deodorant I use, then I better actually make the frame that I'm in and the environment that I'm in as strong as possible so that it doesn't affect me and my family.